Borders are like the walls of a house. They show where one country ends and another begins. But borders are more than just lines on a map. They impact people's lives in many ways. Understanding how borders have changed helps us understand the world today. Think about language. People living on one side of a border might speak a different language than those on the other side. This is often because of past border changes. History, too, is shaped by borders. Wars have been fought and peace treaties signed, all because of where borders are drawn. By studying borders, we learn about conflict, power, and the things that connect and divide us. Long ago, early civilizations started claiming land. These ancient societies didn't have maps and satellites like we do now. They used natural features to mark their territories. Rivers, mountains, and deserts acted as natural borders. The Nile River, for example, was the lifeblood of ancient Egypt. It provided water and fertile land. The Egyptians considered the land around the Nile to be their territory. As civilizations grew stronger, they expanded their territories. They fought wars to conquer new lands and resources. These early conquests and agreements started to shape the first real borders. The Roman Empire was one of the largest empires in history. At its peak, it controlled much of Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. Roman roads, laws, and culture spread throughout the empire, but the Roman Empire eventually crumbled, and new kingdoms emerged from its ruins. The fall of Rome led to major border changes in Europe. Tribes and groups fought for control, and new kingdoms were born. This period saw the rise of powerful kingdoms like the Franks, in what is now France, and the Visigoths in Spain. The borders of these kingdoms were constantly changing through wars and alliances. Section 4. A World Redrawn, the Age of Empires. Starting in the 15th century, European powers began exploring and conquering lands across the globe. This period, known as the Age of Exploration, led to the rise of vast colonial empires. Countries like Spain, Portugal, England, and France established colonies in the Americas, Africa, and Asia. They drew borders to define their colonial possessions, often without regard for the people already living there. The Berlin Conference of 1884 to 1885 is a prime example of this. European powers met and carved up Africa among themselves, drawing borders that remain largely in place today. This period of colonization had a profound impact on the world. It led to the displacement of people, the exploitation of resources, and the spread of European languages and cultures. Section 5. Freedom and New Lines. The 20th century saw a wave of independence movements as colonies fought for freedom. Countries in Asia and Africa gained independence from their European rulers. India, for example, gained independence from Britain in 1947. However, the process of decolonization was often messy and violent. Many newly independent nations faced challenges in establishing stable governments and borders. The creation of new countries also led to border disputes and conflicts. Despite these challenges, the end of colonialism brought about a major redrawing of the world map. Section 6. The Soviet Union from one to many. For much of the 20th century, the Soviet Union was a major power, controlling a vast territory across Eastern Europe and Asia. However, in 1991, the Soviet Union collapsed, breaking apart into 15 independent republics. This event led to the largest redrawing of the political map since the end of World War II. New countries like Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, and others emerged, each with its own borders and governments. The collapse of the Soviet Union had a significant impact on global politics and continues to shape the geopolitical landscape today. Section 7. When borders move people and cultures. Imagine a border suddenly changing, dividing a community or even a family. This has happened throughout history, and it continues to happen today. When borders change, people's lives are disrupted. Families can be separated, and communities divided. People may suddenly find themselves living in a new country, subject to different laws and customs.